So it's been over 2 years since the release of Avatar The Way of Water. And before it came out, I was really excited to see it. Mostly because it took 13 years to make. Alright, that's like half my lifetime, more than that. I was also a huge fan of the first movie, and when my friends saw Avatar The Way of Water, they told me it was a 10 out of 10. They were really hyped. So I went in with high expectations. Then I watched it, and I liked it, but it was just a little bit disappointing. To be honest, the writing wasn't the best and almost didn't even make sense half of the time. When I watched it for the first time, there were some plot holes that just pulled me out of the story. I decided to watch it again after 2 years, and although I did enjoy it a lot more the second time, I still have the same issues with the movie as I did the first time watching it. So the movie starts off with us seeing Jake's life 16 years after the first movie. And we now know that Jake and Neytiri have 4 kids, one of them who's adopted. So anyways, the kids are grown, life is good, and then the humans invade again. So after the humans fuck everything up, we get an introduction to our main villain, Miles, who was the main villain of the last movie, except this time he's an avatar, which I guess will make things interesting. So after his introduction, we get this scene where the Na'vi goes on a mission to destroy this train that's basically carrying supplies to the sky people. And while this is happening, Loak, who's Jake's youngest son, goes on the ground when he's supposed to be in the air just watching the area. And because of this, he almost gets his older brother Neteyam killed. Yes, we got typical kids rebelling orders and running into danger, even though they just saw a whole train explode a few minutes prior. They also introduced this other kid named Spider, who's a human that's been living on Pandora. And it's shown that he has like a close bond with Jake's kids. And Neytiri explains that she doesn't really want him around her kids because he's not the same species, which is kind of weird considering that she knew Jake was basically human. I mean, I get that he's Na'vi now, but he's still half human. Then we have the kids doing something they're not supposed to be doing again. We gotta check this out. What? Get home, boy. Go home. Those are some big ass footprints, all right? You're not even supposed to be there. And you just said it yourself, they're not your people. Then they get caught. And when they get caught, they have to be rescued. And Jake has to go help them again. I mean, I don't mind. We get this really cool, nice action scene of Jake and Neytiri just being badasses. Also, Spider and Kitty had like a 30-second head start when Neytiri freed them. So how the fuck did they get caught? And don't tell me it's because they were handcuffed, alright? They're literally so agile. We just saw scenes of them walking over these little tree vines like it was nothing. I'm pretty sure they could still do that with their hands cuffed. Oh, and apparently Spider is Miles' son. So after Jake rescues his kids, he convinces Neytiri that they need to leave their home because they're not safe. And this is kind of confusing to me because yes, if you leave, you and your family are safe. But what about your people? I know that the Na'vi are hiding in the mountains, so they can't really be found by humans, but at the same time, the humans are still there to conquer Pandora. So sooner or later, they're gonna find the Na'vi people because they're just gonna continue to destroy the forest in order to conquer the land. Also, Miles and the bad guys don't know that Jake and his family left. They still think that Jake is with his tribe. So what if they just find the tribe and all of a sudden start killing all of them because they don't know where Jake is? Because it's shown later on that they almost killed this water tribe for not knowing where Jake is. What makes them think that they wouldn't do that to their own Na'vi people in the forest? This scene would make more sense if everybody was leaving. It just felt weird that Jake and his family are the only people that are leaving because they're basically just abandoning their people to deal with the humans, which is something that Jake would not have done in the first movie. I know he has a family now and everything, but they don't have to go on the missions with him. They can just stay back. So they get to this village, and after having like a 5-minute conversation of going back and forth, they finally get accepted into this new water tribe. So they move in and start learning the way of water. And while everybody else is training, Kitty is out here doing magic stuff and no one is questioning this at all. And when the one person notices this, she doesn't say anything about it later on and it was just never explored further. Like, she noticed that Kitty has some type of special power, but she never thought to go to Jake or Neytiri about it. It would have been nice if they just expanded on it more, because it does come into play later on, but we know nothing about it, so we're just sitting there accepting whatever happens. Like, why was she able to control this plant later on without any issues? I don't know. The plot just demands it, so we just accept it for how it is and don't ask any questions. Also, one thing I wish the movie had was just more screen time of Neytiri. Because everybody else had a scene where they were training underwater, they got to explore the sea and everything like that, while Neytiri is just not shown at all. She's kind of just like on the sideline. And at the end of the final battle, she was the only one that was riding a dragon, which shows that she hasn't adapted to her new way of life compared to Jake and her kids. And I think this is something that they could have explored more with her character, because she did have a strong opinion about not wanting to leave her home in the first place. I know that the film is focusing more on the kids, but it just seemed like they forgot about her character until the final battle where she was finally needed. Then we get a fight scene between the kids, and it made me realize the only thing that Jake has done so far within the movie is just yell at his kids. That's kind of like his only purpose within the movie. He was just kind of there to yell at the kids whenever they got in trouble. It feels like they didn't know what to do with his character anymore because they were focusing so much on the kids. Then Loak goes to apologize to the kids that he fought. And it's kind of stupid because when he goes to apologize, for some reason he gets convinced to go outside the reef, which is really dangerous. One thing I would never do is to follow people I don't like into a dangerous and unknown area. Like, this dude did not even take that much convincing.
No way, I'm not allowed.
I must be asking the wrong brother.
Let's do it.
So the kids end up leaving him, and he gets attacked by this like sea creature and is saved by this creature called Tukun, which is basically a whale, to be honest, if you look at it. After he is saved, the bullies realize that they messed up because Loak has been gone for like hours. And they try searching for him, but when he returns back home, he takes the blame. I honestly thought that the reason why he did this was because it was going to build some sort of friendship between the kids. But then they don't really interact with each other after that and are basically just neutral, which I guess is fine. But he's been getting into trouble throughout the whole film, so I just don't think it was a good reason for him to take the blame, because it just puts more pressure on his family since they're already outsiders. And the kids almost got him killed, so it also started to get a little repetitive as well. Like, the whole movie was basically the main character doing something stupid. He gets yelled at. Jake doesn't try to understand him at all. And then they just move on to the next thing. Like, we've done this 3 times already. Let's move on. And I don't know why they're blaming Natayam for not watching Loak as if they're not the parents. So we go back to the Tukun, who we learned that his name is Payakan. And for some reason, he's known as a killer Tukun, and he's banished or banned basically from the tribe. And Loak doesn't believe it, obviously, because, you know, the Payakan saved his life. And at this point, I would assume that everyone is keeping a close eye on him just because he's been running off on his own and has been doing things that nobody agrees with. But fuck it, I guess. I mean, he's gone again, and he's with the whale that was apparently banished, so I guess nobody cares. We also are shown that the spirit tree is actually underwater this time, and I think that's a pretty cool detail that they added, considering the fact that the Navi people who live in that area revolve their whole life around the water. But then Kitty decides to connect to the tree in order to get more information about her father, and she has a seizure. And I guess the Great Mother didn't want her to know, but anyways, after her seizure, they bring her back to the village because she's in a coma now, and instead of asking people in the village for help to see what they can do first, they decide to contact their old team that was in the forest to travel to them, basically exposing their location. And when their team finally arrives, they don't even do anything. They couldn't even help Kitty at all. And when she was finally healed, it was because of Ronal. She's the spiritual leader for the entire clan and is also the chief's wife. They didn't think to go to her first before contacting their old team and potentially exposing their location. They made their team travel all the way to them, which could have taken hours or days given what we saw in the beginning, instead of asking her for help when she was right in the village with them. But I guess it was needed in order to move the plot forward because the bad guys had to have found out where Jake was at some point. I just wish they would have done it a little better because this way it just doesn't make sense. Oh, and Loak finally connects with Payakan and sees his past of when he got attacked by humans. And basically, Payakan is blamed for the death of the other Tukuns. Apparently, it's because he tried to attack the humans and got everybody else killed instead. So it's his fault, I guess. Then the kids get yelled at again. How many times is that? I lost count. So in order to bait Jake and his family, the Sky People attack some of the Tukuns that were with the tribe earlier. And when they dissect the Tukun, they extract this yellow liquid called Amrita that apparently stops human aging and is the main reason why the projects on Pandora are being funded. But that's kind of stupid because if you're saying that Amrita is the only reason why the projects on Pandora are being funded, then that means that if Amrita didn't exist, the humans would just stay on Earth and die with it because they don't have any other strong reason to colonize Pandora. Which is false because we already know that Earth is dying and that is the main reason why they're colonizing Pandora in the first place.
Earth is dying. Our task here is to tame this frontier, to make Pandora the new home for humanity.
We don't need another plot to explain the intentions of why humans are there in the first place. It's as simple as their planet is dying and they're trying to find another planet to live on. That's pretty much it. You could remove this whole little side story out of the movie and the story would still make sense. I was actually surprised that when they found the Tukun's body later on, they didn't piece it together that this was basically because of Jake. Like they literally lived their whole lives free of the sky people, and all of a sudden all these attacks are happening when Jake arrives on the island. Like come on guys, they're literally after Jake. How obvious do you need it to be? So the kids try and warn Payakan, but they find out that he has a tracker on him already, so they call for help. Now I actually like the chase sequence that they added, along with the fight scenes and the choreography, but then once again, some of the writing just pulls me out of the story. You see, Jake's kids got captured while trying to save Payakan, and when they're captured, Miles tells Jake that he will kill his kids if Jake doesn't turn himself in. But then they start fighting once Payakan jumps on the platform. And I get why they're fighting because Payakan's distraction is their opportunity to push forward and fight. But what if Miles just shoots their kid in front of them, like he said he would if they start fighting? And when they do start fighting and they're pushing up towards the ship, Miles doesn't even do anything to Jake's kids like he said he was going to. He goes to fight instead of using Jake's kids against him, which is what he said he was going to do. That's what gave him the advantage in the first place, is the fact that the kids' lives are on the line. So the threats he made were just nothing basically because he never followed through with any of them. Also, why is no one watching Spider? He literally caused half of the destruction of the ship, and before that he ran out, so I thought everybody would be watching him or at least handcuff him to something. So after Loak gets rescued by his brother, they decide to go rescue Spider on the ship by themselves instead of regrouping with their own people and coming up with a plan. And this is just one of those scenarios where it frustrates me because the characters are so stupid. Because you're going into danger to rescue somebody who's not even in danger. Spider is perfectly fine. He has not gotten beaten up, he has not gotten tortured, he's just simply on the ship. So why is his rescue so urgent to the point where you guys went in by yourselves without any backup, and because of this Neteyam dies, which is a pretty sad scene, but how he died was just so stupid because it could have been avoided if the kids just used their brains for like 2 seconds. So 2 of the kids get captured again, and for some reason, everybody is just fucking gone. The whole water tribe, Navi people that were there earlier fighting, nowhere to be found. Like, where is the chief and his people? You know your daughter is still here, right? What happened to everybody? Everybody just disappeared. But anyways, this last act within the movie is actually pretty good in my opinion. It was cool to see Jake and Neteri fight as a team again because their action scenes have always been really good. But what's crazy is that Spider ended up helping them and Neteri almost took his life. And after she almost took his life, he ran back to them as if nothing happened. I would be so scared of Neteri if I was Spider. Like, she just threatened to kill me 5 minutes ago and now I'm going back to his family. Also, he saved Miles' life, which I don't mind because that is his dad. But I did expect him to say something to Miles. Like, hey, I saved your life. Now please leave me, Jake, and his family alone. But no, he saved Miles' life and just jumps in the water. Like, yes, Miles cares about you, but what if he just comes back for Jake again? I feel like he should have set up a boundary to ensure that there's no more conflict. Anyways, I like how Loak was able to be there for Jake and guide him while the ship was sinking. It just solidified their bond and allowed them to slowly recover from Neteyam's death. Overall, I enjoyed the movie. Like I said, some of the writing just didn't make sense to me, but it's still an enjoyable movie at the end of the day. The visuals are really good, the acting is really good, and I'm really excited about the next one that's coming out next year because I know that they're doing something about the Fire Tribe, and apparently they're the bad guys, which sounds similar to another franchise we know. But either way, I'm still looking forward to it. Overall, Avatar: The Way of Water gets a 6.5 out of 10.